Hi there, hope you're well. In the previous video I made a walnut frame for a footstool based on a 1970s school project of mine, and in this video I'm going to attempt to make a Danish cord woven seat for it. Now I want to be absolutely clear, this is not me teaching you how to do Danish cord weaving. I've only ever done this once before. This was my first practice at it and I got it horribly wrong. I'll show you where I went wrong as I get into the actual weave on the main thing. There are lots of videos on Danish cord weaving on YouTube. I've watched probably most of them, but they all leave bits out, so I'm going to try and make this as complete as possible. But it's really not a step-by-step how to do it. It's just me showing you, bringing you along on my will be my second attempt at Danish cord weaving. So in traditional weaving, you've got the warp, the threads that go front and back, and you've got the weft, the bits that go side to side, over and under those other ones. Because of the way it works, the weft threads, all the thread has to go through from one side and then all the way back to the other side. And that's fine if you've got, wafer thin cotton thread on a bobbin. That's not really going to work if you've got 600 meters of 4mm thick Danish cord. So what Danish cord does, instead of having that, they actually use a double cord for the warp that goes around and loops around a nail and comes back, and you use a double cord as well for the weft, which does the same thing, loops around a nail, comes back, and then this end loops around a nail and goes back and forth that way. So all your cord stays in one side, but you can actually figure it out fairly easily. So Danish cord is just made of twisted paper. It's twisted into 3 strands, which are then twisted into the cord itself. It's immensely strong and very hard wearing. You can get it in a natural color like this, or I'm going to be using the black one. And the black version, the paper is actually dyed before it's twisted, so it's dyed sort of all the way through, like coloured all the way through MDF. So I said earlier on that I've watched a lot of videos about this on YouTube. Nobody really talks much about the nail spacing, so let me explain where I'm coming from and what I'm doing. I want 4 strands of cord between each of the double cords in the warp front to back, and that happens to give me about 25mm, so I can use a little block of 25mm scrap as a spacer. And then for the double cords, for the weft, the side to side, they're covered pretty nicely by a piece of 9mm. So that's what we're going to do next. I've marked the left to right centre of the long front rail and then drawn a line along its length approximately at the centre between the top and the bottom. Then starting in the middle and using the spacer blocks, I can easily mark the nail positions at 25mm centres. For the short side rails, I can repeat the process with 9mm spacers, but because it's so tight on space in there, the nail positions are staggered above and below the centre line, just to make life a little bit easier. So the little L-shaped nails that we use for the cord to loop over, they're 20mm long and 2mm thick, and I'm just going to drill these out. I've got a 1.6mm, 1/16 of an inch bit in a little sort of mini drill. I'm just going to drill those out just to make sure we don't have any problems with splitting, or I actually did try a quick test run just hammering them in, and I must have hit a knot halfway into the walnut and it just bent sideways. So all that sort of stuff is just what we're trying to avoid. Only takes 5 minutes with a little mini drill, so I'll just get on with that quickly. I've put a board under the rails so the hammering bears directly onto the bench leg. And the nails need to stick out by about 6 or 7mm, a 1/4 inch or just over. On the short rails where the nails are staggered, I found it easier on the fingers to hammer in the top row first and then the bottom. So that's all the nails in. I've realised belatedly that I've actually put the top row of the double layer in a little bit high. That's going to make life a little bit difficult for myself to get everything around there. But anyway, that'll do for now. Let's start getting some cord around this. Start getting a seat woven. I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat on this. I'm just going to put a little squeeze of CA glue on that bit of the cord. It's going to go from the inside of the frame because it's got to come back around the frame. And I'm just going to put a little drop of CA glue in there just to hold that in place while we get the first couple of strands in. So that goes around the first nail and then we sort of cast off. So it goes up and down and around the row of nails, in and out, so that they stay put. Glue's doing its job. Oops. So with that over that nail, it comes around that nail, back across, under the nail at the other side, back towards me. Now it's on the right of the cord that we had before. That goes back under, over that nail where it traps that cord tight, across to the other nail, and it goes over again. And then basically it's rinse and repeat all the way across. Now, when I did my first test piece, the mistake I made was I got the tension too tight in these cross pieces. I may have mentioned that before. So I'm a little bit paranoid about making those too tight. I may end up going the opposite direction on it, which will be really annoying because that would end up giving me a saggy seat. But you know, you don't know this stuff until you try. So I'm going to get on with that, and maybe while I get those strands in place, I'll tell you a little bit more about the costs of the Danish cord. Danish cord typically comes in two quantities, 120 metre coils or 625 metre coils. 120 metres is enough to replace a typical chair seat, and I bought my practice cord that way from an eBay seller. I'll link them up down below. I did that mostly because I didn't want to be saddled with a spare 500 metres of cord if it didn't work out. I paid about £75 for the 120 metre bundle with a couple of hundred L nails included, but I bought the black cord from a specialist company, and while I paid about twice as much, it was for over 4 times the quantity, 600 odd metres of cord and a box of I think 1500 nails, making it much better value, provided you have the use for it. Unfortunately, all this does mean that if you wanted to try out this technique on a small project like this footstool, Danish cord is a relatively expensive option, so I'm going to be giving away 2 footstool starter sets, one with the neutral coloured cord and the other with black, and I'll be getting into the details of those later on, perhaps with a bit more information on a more wallet-friendly synthetic cord option as well. So that's the warp done front to back. I've left that much looser than I had before. Is that too much? I don't know. Don't know till you try, kind of thing. We'll see. We'll see. Next thing we've got to do is fill in the gaps here, and that's just wrapping 4 turns of cord around. When I did the test piece, I carefully measured out what 4 turns of cord was and how far it would take to get to the next one, and I multiplied it by the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, you know, however many it was, and I worked out it was 11.2 metres, and I added a bit more for good measure because you don't want to run out, I ended up with about 3 meters too long. So I'm going to do about 10 meters on this, and fingers crossed that'll work. And at least I'll know, having done this, I should know exactly how much we'll need. So I'm going to measure 10 meters out and get back to you in a sec. Okay, so with this bit of the cord wrap, we start at the center, because obviously you've got to feed the whole length of cord around. And it goes over the center nail, and then the right hand cord comes across to trap that end, and it comes over and it goes around 4 wraps, and it's going to be as tight as you like. And 4, that comes down out. And then comes across the nail and around. So we get a nice smooth front face, and then another 4 turns. So I've taken a shortcut to the end here. I'm sure you didn't need to watch me wrap the whole thing. And the traditional way of ending the cord wrap is to fix it down with tacks. I don't have any tacks, so I'm going to use CA glue again, as it seems to be working out just fine. So that's the first half wrapped, not too bad, reasonably smooth under there. It's really hard to do because there isn't enough tension in the top to do, so that it feels a little bit lumpy. I've got a feeling that's too loose, but I just don't know. But anyway, that's that done. I need to do the same on the other side, and once that's done, then we can get into the actual weave, and we'll see whether the tension's all right or not. That's both sides wrapped about as neatly as I can do it. So the next thing then is to do the weft, and again, there's nothing sort of terribly complicated about this. We need to get the cord inside, get it cast on, so over and under. So we then take a double strand that's long enough to go around, we hope, and we go over and under, over and under. Under this rail and over the nail. And back. Over the next nail. Another generous length, and then for this one we go under and over. So no shortcut to this, just under and over, over and under, over and over again while we build up the seat covering. So it feels like I'm making a complete mess of this, but it's sort of working. But the only way I can get these wefts to stay halfway straight while I'm threading them in there is to actually use Velcro straps. So they go around, hook and loop, like that, and you pull it in all along before you start the next one. And I'm fairly sure that's not officially sanctioned Danish Weavers Association technique. It does seem to be working for me anyway, for now, because I do want to get this done. But yeah. Let's just say I've never seen anybody else in a YouTube video do it this way. However, as I say, it does appear to be kind of working. So we want to low down. I think we're just about halfway. Jeez. Feels like it's a lot further. So I'm down to the last couple of nails, couple of threads going through here, and I honestly couldn't tell you if it's going to be sort of acceptable or absolutely rubbish, but I'm going to finish it. We'll see how it goes. I've got to say the Velcro straps have been working exceptionally well. So yes, that goes down as an interesting experience, I think. I'm not convinced that's the best I can do, but it'll do for now. I'm going to hammer in these nails. Settle those down. I'll settle, dress these around a little bit to try and get them, because they're a bit bunched up in there, they need to be spaced out a bit more. I'll get those couple of little bits done, and then we'll have a bit of a chat about where it all went wrong. So there we are, that's my first proper, it's hard to see isn't it, that's my first proper stab at a Danish cord seat weave. I'd put it down as sort of tolerable for a first go, and I'll happily use it at home, but there's definitely room for improvement on this. It's quite gappy at the sides, which suggests to me that there should be more pairs of cords in there, but how would you fit them in with the warp cords without a lot less tension? I really don't know, and I don't see how I could have less tension in the warp, because as it is, some of the strands are still quite slack at the sides, and that's my biggest failing, I think, on this, that inconsistency between the warp cords just manifests itself in the slack, saggy side cords. Hilariously, there's me fretting about a saggy seat, which is absolutely fine, and yet it's this sloppiness, this looseness at the sides that I find most troubling and looks so scrappy to me. Maybe I'll try and fix that in a member video. Anyway, it's done. I'll certainly be doing another, maybe a basic build version from plywood. Let me know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. But whatever I'll do, I'll be carrying on what I've learned on this build to the next one, because that's the only way that I know of getting better. Now, I mentioned earlier about the costs involved with Danish cord. Obviously, there are lots of other types of cord available, natural and synthetic. Paracord, parachute cord, for example, is a synthetic one. And thanks so much to Plus member Catherine, hi Catherine, for letting me know about that one. You can get a 100-metre roll of 3mm paracord in black for around £15 or less off Amazon. I'll link that up down below. I've no idea what it's like to weave with. If you do and it turns out to be terrible, please let me know in the comments, because I haven't actually bought it yet. But it might be worth investigating, even if it doesn't have the eco credentials of twisted paper. If you do want to give genuine Danish cord a try though, then as I mentioned earlier, I'll be giving away 2 Footstool starter packs. There'll be about 70 metres of neutral Danish cord with 100 L nails, so enough to get you one of those stools completely finished. And I'll give that away in the September 10-Minute Workshop newsletter. So just head over to 10minuteworkshop.com, scroll down to the bottom of the page and sign up to the newsletter. It's just a monthly chatty kind of catch-up. There's no hard sell or anything, and no purchase necessary. The newsletter comes out on whichever Sunday is closest to the middle of the month, so you've got a couple of weeks or so to get your name down on that if you're interested, and I'll ship that bundle anywhere in the world with my compliments. I'll also be giving away the same bundle but with a black Danish cord to a 10-Minute Workshop Plus member. Plus is my new independent member platform. Again, head over to 10minuteworkshop.com for the details on that, or go to 10minuteworkshop.plus to take you straight to a sign-up page. Plus is a paid platform, but there's a free trial and all members are eligible. There's no purchase necessary. Just sign up, head over to the forum where there's a free stuff and giveaways category, and make a comment there to be included. But I'm going to call this one done for now. Thanks ever so much for taking a look. Thank you, as always, to my amazing channel members for their support and encouragement, and for the conversations that we have that really help shape these public-facing videos. Would love to have you as part of that conversation. Links and details below, as always. But that's it for this one. Thanks again for taking a look, and I will catch you in the next one. I'm going to go and put my feet up. You take care. All right.